On the verge of leaving New York and returning to the small town where he grew up, Jack meets Emma on a cold night in Central Park. With a smile that lights up the darkness, she makes him reconsider everything he thought he knew about love and hope. The instant connection between them not only rekindles the flame of a new beginning, but also reveals long-forgotten secrets and dreams. Disillusioned with life in New York, Jack was walking through Central Park on a cold night, determined to return to his hometown. He spotted a young woman feeding birds near a bench. Even from a distance, something about her caught his attention. Perhaps the way she seemed completely present in the moment, or the welcoming smile that lit up her face, even in the dark. As he approached, Jack noticed she had brown hair that danced softly in the wind and eyes that reflected a positive, contagious energy. With a hesitant smile, he greeted her. "Good evening." "Good evening," replied the young woman, warming Jack's soul with her smile. "Do you like birds?" "I've never really thought about it, to be honest," he admitted, feeling a bit embarrassed. "They're fascinating," she said, tossing a few more bread crumbs to the pigeons gathered at her feet. "They always know where to fly, even when the path isn't clear." Jack found the observation intriguing, especially in the context of his own confused life. They continued talking, and Jack discovered that Emma was full of life and dreams, someone who saw beauty in the small things. As they said goodbye, Emma invited him to a community event over the weekend, leaving Jack intrigued. When Jack returned to his apartment, he felt different. The city lights seemed less oppressive and more welcoming. Flipping through an old notebook of ideas and dreams, he found notes on musical projects and plays he once wanted to create. The passion he had left behind seemed to reignite, fueled by the brief but significant interaction with Emma. That night, Jack fell asleep with a smile on his face and a sense of anticipation in his heart. He could hardly wait to see what the weekend would bring, and for some reason, he knew his life was about to change in ways he could never have predicted. At the community event, Jack discovers that Emma is deeply involved in social projects, including the revitalization of an abandoned theater in her neighborhood. Jack, who has always had a passion for music and theater, impulsively offers his help. During the work, Jack meets several people from the neighborhood, including old friends he hadn't seen in years. Jack arrived at the community event with a mix of curiosity and nervousness. He didn't know what to expect, but the memory of Emma's welcoming smile and their conversation in Central Park motivated him to go. As he entered the community space, he was immediately enveloped by an atmosphere of positive energy and cooperation. The event was full of people of all ages, engaged in various activities. There were children painting murals, adults organizing clothing and food donations, and groups discussing action plans for future projects. Jack looked for Emma, feeling a bit out of place in the midst of so many people. "Jack, you came." Emma's cheerful voice sounded beside him, and he turned to see her with a radiant smile on her face. "Of course, I couldn't miss it," Jack replied, trying to hide his nervousness. Emma led him through the space, introducing him to several people involved in different initiatives. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and Jack found himself relaxing gradually. They stopped in front of a large mural where several people were painting vibrant scenes of the city. "This is just one of the many projects we're working on," Emma explained. "But what's really in my heart is the revitalization of the abandoned theater in our neighborhood. It's a place with so much potential, but it's been in ruins for years." Jack felt a thrill of excitement hearing about the theater. He had always had a passion for music and theater, and the idea of helping to bring such a space back to life excited him. Without thinking twice, he offered his help. "I would love to help with the theater," he said, with a determination that surprised even himself. Emma's eyes sparkled with gratitude. "That would be amazing, Jack. We need all the help we can get. Come, I'll show you the place." They walked to the theater, which was just a few blocks away. The facade was worn by time, with broken windows and graffiti covering the walls. However, Jack could see the potential hidden beneath the decay. He could almost hear the applause and laughter that once echoed in that place. As they entered, they were greeted by a team of volunteers who were already working on cleaning and the initial stages of restoration. Emma introduced Jack to everyone, explaining that he had experience in music and theater and was willing to help. Jack spent the following days immersed in the work of revitalizing the theater. He joined the volunteers, painting walls, fixing chairs, and cleaning the stage. The work was hard, but he felt energized by the mission and the sense of community that permeated the project. During this time, Jack met several people from the neighborhood. He was surprised to find old friends he hadn't seen in years. One of them was Tom, a childhood friend he hadn't seen since he moved to New York. "Jack, I can't believe it's you," Tom exclaimed, recognizing Jack as they worked together. "Tom, it's been so long," Jack responded, smiling. "What have you been up to?" "Oh, I'm around, helping where I can," Tom said. "And you? What brought you back?" Jack thought for a moment before answering. "I guess I needed a change, and meeting Emma made me see things differently." Tom smiled, understanding. She has that effect on people. Emma is a force of nature. In the days that followed, Jack opened up more about his passion for music and theater. He shared stories of his youth when he dreamed of being a musician but ended up abandoning those dreams when he moved to New York and got caught up in a routine that left him disillusioned. One night, while they were working late at the theater, Jack and Emma had a deep conversation about their lives and dreams. The empty theater seemed like a magical place, where words echoed with a special intensity. "Why did you give up music?" Emma asked, as she painted a wall beside Jack. He sighed, thinking about the answer. "I think I got lost amidst the expectations and pressures of life in New York. I ended up moving away from what I truly loved. But being here, working on this theater, reminded me why I loved it in the first place." Emma stopped painting and looked at him, her eyes full of understanding. "Then maybe this is the place where you can rediscover that passion. This theater isn't just a building. It's a symbol of hope and renewal. And you're part of that now." Her words touched Jack deeply. He realized that by helping to revitalize the theater, he was also revitalizing himself. He was rediscovering parts of himself that he had lost, and it was incredibly liberating. As the work on the theater progressed, Jack and Emma grew closer. They shared laughs, stories, and dreams, and the connection between them deepened each day. Jack felt inspired by Emma's dedication and the way she faced challenges with unwavering optimism. One afternoon, as they rested on the stage, Emma looked at Jack and said, "You know, this theater isn't just a project for me. It's a way to keep my family's memory alive. They love this place as much as I do, and working here makes me feel connected to them." Jack was silent for a moment, feeling the weight of her words. "I understand," he finally said. "My grandmother used to take me to the theater when I was a kid. She always said the stage was a place where magic happened. Maybe that's why I feel so drawn to this place too." Emma smiled, touching Jack's hand. "Then let's bring back that magic. Together." Days turned into weeks, and the theater began to regain its former glory. The walls were painted with vibrant colors, the stage was restored, and the chairs were fixed. The neighborhood began to rally around the project, bringing new life and energy to the community. Jack felt a transformation within himself. He had not only found renewed purpose, but also a new family in the community that welcomed him with open arms. And, above all, he found a deep and meaningful connection with Emma, who illuminated his life in ways he never imagined possible. As they prepared for the theater's grand opening, Jack knew he had found something special, something that couldn't be easily abandoned. He was ready to embrace this new phase of his life, with Emma by his side, and discover where this journey would lead them. As the weeks went by, Jack and Emma began spending more and more time together, creating a deep and genuine connection. With each meeting, they shared stories of their lives, revealing layers of their souls they didn't even know existed. For Jack, these moments were a mix of discovery and reflection, something he hadn't experienced in years. One sunny afternoon, while walking through Central Park, Emma decided to open her heart to Jack, telling him about a painful part of her life that she rarely discussed with anyone. "Jack, there's something I need to tell you," Emma began, her voice trembling slightly. "I lost my family in an accident a few years ago. It was devastating. They were everything to me." Jack stopped, looking deeply into Emma's eyes, feeling her pain as if it were his own. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I didn't know." She smiled sadly, continuing, "Since then, the theater has been my way of keeping their memory alive. My mother loved theater, and my father always encouraged me to follow my artistic dreams. That's why I'm so dedicated to this project. It's a way to honor them. Inspired by Emma's resilience and strength, Jack felt it was time to open up as well. You are an incredible person, Emma. I also have things I carry with me. Frustrations, unfulfilled dreams. Emma stopped and turned to him, her eyes full of curiosity and understanding. Tell me, Jack. I want to know more about you. Taking a deep breath, Jack began to talk about his passion for music and how he had abandoned that dream years ago. I've always loved music, ever since I was a kid. I even performed with a band in my hometown, but when I came to New York, life swallowed me up. Between work and responsibilities, music got pushed aside. I ended up giving up on that dream. Emma looked at him with tenderness and encouragement. But why did you give up, Jack? You still have time to follow your dreams. It's never too late. Jack sighed, looking out at the horizon. I think it was the fear of failing. New York is a city full of talent, and I felt insignificant. Besides, the pressures of work consumed me. I kept putting music aside until one day, I realized I hadn't played in months. Emma gently placed her hand on Jack's shoulder. You are not insignificant, Jack. Everyone has their own light and talent. Don't let fear stop you from pursuing what you love. Looking at Emma, Jack felt a new wave of determination. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time to rediscover that passion. The following days were filled with more moments of closeness and sharing. Jack felt that he had finally found someone who understood his pain and aspirations. And, more importantly, someone who believed in him. One night, as they worked together in the theater, Jack looked around and realized how much the place meant to Emma. You really transformed this place, Emma. It's a space full of life and hope. Emma smiled, her eyes shining with emotion. That's all I ever wanted. A place where people can gather, share their stories, and find a bit of joy. Jack felt a warmth in his chest, a mix of admiration and affection for Emma. You've inspired me, you know? I'm thinking about going back to playing music, maybe even performing at a local event. Emma clasped his hand, her eyes full of excitement. That would be amazing, Jack. I would love to see you play. I think you have a lot of talent to share with the world. Their connection grew stronger each day, and Jack felt that he was finally beginning to find his place in New York. He was no longer alone. He had Emma by his side, and that made all the difference. That same week, Jack decided to visit an old music store he used to frequent. Upon entering, he felt a wave of nostalgia and excitement. He browsed the shelves, gently touching the displayed instruments, until he found a guitar that caught his eye. He picked up the instrument and began to play a soft melody, feeling the old passion flow through his fingers. The store owner, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson, approached with a smile. You have a way with that guitar, son. Have you thought about performing again? Jack smiled, his eyes shining with new determination. I'm thinking about it. I have a friend who inspired me to start playing again. Mr. Thompson nodded, his gaze full of wisdom. Friends like that are rare. Don't miss this opportunity. With the guitar in hand, Jack left the store feeling revitalized. He knew he was on the right path, and it was all thanks to Emma. That night, Jack met Emma at the theater. I have a surprise for you, he said, showing her the guitar he had bought. Emma smiled, her eyes sparkling with emotion. Jack, that's wonderful. Will you play for me? Jack nodded, sitting down in one of the theater seats. He began to play a soft melody, his voice joining the music. Emma sat beside him, listening intently, feeling every note touch her heart. When he finished, Jack looked at Emma, waiting for her reaction. So, what did you think? Emma wiped away a tear that had fallen down her cheek, smiling radiantly. It was beautiful, Jack. You have an incredible talent. I'm so happy you decided to start playing again. Jack felt a wave of gratitude and love for Emma. Thank you, Emma. You really have changed my life. From that moment on, Jack and Emma continued to spend more time together, not just working on the theater, but also exploring their passions and dreams. Their connection deepened, and Jack felt that he was finally beginning to find his place in the world again. Emma, for her part, felt grateful to have found someone like Jack, someone who not only understood her but also inspired her. Together, they formed an unbeatable team, ready to face any challenge life might throw their way. And so, Jack and Emma continued to walk their path, supporting each other and discovering new possibilities. Their journey was just beginning, and both knew that as long as they were together, they could overcome any obstacle and fulfill their deepest dreams. Jack decided to perform at a small local show, encouraged by Emma. The idea of returning to the stage, something he had abandoned long ago, filled him with a mix of anxiety and excitement. Emma, with her usual positive energy, was by his side, offering unconditional support. "You'll do great, Jack. I know you will," she said, holding his hands and looking deeply into his eyes. Jack smiled nervously. "I hope so. It's been a long time since I played for an audience." The venue for the show was cozy, a small cafe in Emma's neighborhood. The walls were decorated with photos of past events and local artists, creating a warm and inspiring atmosphere. The stage was modest, but for Jack, it represented an opportunity to rise again. Emma helped him organize everything. She was excited, talking to the cafe owners and ensuring everything was perfect for the performance. Jack, for his part, tuned his guitar, trying to calm his nerves. He couldn't help but feel a mix of gratitude and admiration for Emma. She had a unique ability to bring out the best in him. As people began to arrive, Jack felt the human warmth filling the space. He recognized some familiar faces, people he had met through Emma's community projects. There was a sense of community, of mutual support, that he hadn't felt in years. Finally, it was time to take the stage. Emma gave him one last hug and whispered in his ear, "You're going to be amazing." Jack took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage, feeling the adrenaline rush through his body. He started with a song he had composed many years ago, a soft and melancholic melody that spoke of dreams and hopes. His fingers glided over the guitar strings with an ease he had forgotten he possessed. As the music flowed, he felt like he was reconnecting with an essential part of himself. The audience was silent, completely absorbed in the performance. Jack could see Emma in the front row, her face illuminated by a smile of pure pride and joy. That sight gave him even more confidence, and he fully immersed himself in the music. When he finished, the cafe erupted in applause. Jack felt a comforting warmth spread through his body. He smiled, emotional, and took a bow. Emma ran up to him, wrapping him in a tight hug. "I knew you would do great," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with happiness. "Thank you, Emma. I couldn't have done it without you," Jack replied, feeling a wave of gratitude flood his heart. As the night went on, Jack played several more songs, each one received with enthusiasm by the audience. He felt alive, rejuvenated, as if he had rediscovered a part of himself that had been forgotten. And all thanks to Emma. After the show, they went for a walk around the neighborhood. The air was cold, but Jack felt warm inside. They talked about the performance, about the future, about dreams and hopes. The connection between them seemed stronger than ever. "You made me remember why I love music," Jack said, looking at Emma with a mix of tenderness and admiration. "I'm glad I could help," she replied, smiling. "You have an incredible talent, Jack. The world needs to hear your music." At that moment, Jack felt a wave of emotion take over. He stopped walking and turned to Emma, holding her hands. "Emma, you mean so much to me, more than I can express in words." Emma looked at him, her eyes shining with a mix of surprise and emotion. "Jack, I feel the same. You've brought light into my life in a way I never thought possible." Without thinking twice, Jack leaned in and kissed her. It was a kiss full of passion, emotion, and unspoken promises. Time seemed to stop, and the world around them disappeared. In that moment, nothing else mattered but the love they felt for each other. When they finally pulled away, both were breathless but with radiant smiles. "That was amazing," Emma said, laughing lightly. "Yes, it was," Jack agreed, feeling his heart racing. "I think I found something I didn't even know I was looking for." Emma hugged him again, and they continued walking, now holding hands. The night was full of promises, new beginnings, and renewed dreams. Jack knew that, with Emma by his side, he could face any challenge. And more importantly, he knew he had found a place where he truly belonged. In the days that followed, the relationship between Jack and Emma blossomed. They spent more and more time together, sharing not only their dreams but also the small moments of everyday life. Jack became even more involved in the community projects, feeling a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment. Music once again became an integral part of his life, and Jack began composing new songs, inspired by his experience and his love for Emma. They often met at the small cafe where he had performed for the first time, discussing ideas for revitalizing the abandoned theater and planning new events for the community. Jack felt he had finally found his place in the world, a place of love, hope, and purpose. And all this thanks to Emma, the woman who had lit up his life on a cold night in Central Park and who was now his safe harbor, his muse, and his love. The future still held challenges, but Jack knew that, with Emma by his side, he could face anything. And together, they were ready to turn dreams into reality, one step at a time. As spring approached, Jack and Emma began facing challenges that tested both their relationship and the theater project. The resistance from some residents and local authorities became more evident. Jack, who had been motivated and confident, started questioning whether he should stay in New York or return to his hometown, where a simpler and less troubled life awaited him. At the same time, Emma was haunted by the fear that her relationship with Jack might be just a passing phase, something that would disappear as quickly as it began. One morning, while working together at the theater, Jack and Emma found themselves surrounded by a group of residents who were unhappy with the revitalization project. Among them was Mr. Thompson, an elderly man who had lived in the neighborhood for decades. "Do you think turning this place into a theater will solve all the neighborhood's problems?" Mr. Thompson asked, his voice laden with skepticism. "We need security, jobs, not entertainment." Emma, always patient and determined, tried to explain the importance of the project. "Mr. Thompson, I understand your concerns, but the theater can be a gathering place for the community, a place where we can unite and find solutions together. Moreover, events and performances can create jobs and attract investment to the area." Jack watched the scene in silence, feeling torn. He understood Emma's vision, but he also sympathized with the residents who were more concerned with immediate needs. Doubt began to gnaw at his mind. Perhaps he was putting his own ambitions and feelings above the real needs of the community. After the tense meeting, Jack and Emma sat on the now empty stage, reflecting on the events. "Do you think we're wrong?" Jack asked, looking at Emma with a worried expression. "I don't know, Jack," Emma sighed, resting her head in her hands. "I just know I'm trying to do something good, something I believe can help people and keep my family's memory alive." Jack held her hand, feeling the frustration and sadness emanating from her. "I'm starting to wonder if I should stay in New York. Maybe I should go back to my hometown, where things are simpler." Emma felt a pang in her heart hearing those words. The fear that Jack was considering leaving had been haunting her for some time. "And if you leave, Jack, what does that mean for us?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jack didn't have an answer. He knew his feelings for Emma were strong, but the uncertainty about the future and the difficulties they were facing left him confused. "I don't know, Emma. I just know I'm tired of fighting against everything and everyone." The following days were marked by growing tension. Jack and Emma continued working on the theater, but the intimacy and joy they once shared began to dissipate. Emma feared Jack was pulling away, and Jack, in turn, was increasingly torn between his desire to stay and the feeling that perhaps he didn't belong there. One afternoon, while they were in the middle of a meeting with some project supporters, Jack received a message from Mike, an old friend, offering a job opportunity outside New York. The offer was tempting, as it would solve many of his financial problems and give him a chance to start fresh away from the current complications. Jack left the meeting with his mind racing. He needed to think, to find clarity. He went to Central Park, the place where it all began, hoping to find some answers. He sat on a bench, watching the trees start to bloom, signaling the arrival of spring. While he was there, lost in thought, Emma appeared. She knew where to find him, familiar with the place where their lives had first crossed paths. "I knew I'd find you here," she said, sitting next to Jack. "Emma, Jack began, but was interrupted by a wave of her hand. "I know about the job offered, Jack," Emma said with a calm but sad tone. "And I know you're considering taking it." Jack was surprised but couldn't deny it. He knew Emma deserved the truth. "Yes, I'm considering it, he admitted. Not because I want to leave, but because I don't know if I'm doing the right thing by staying here. Emma looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and understanding. Jack, I don't want you to stay here just for me. If you feel you need to go, I won't stop you. But I need to know if what we have is real or just a passing phase. Jack felt a lump in his throat. He knew his next words could change everything. Emma, what I feel for you is real. But the decision to stay or go isn't simple. It's not just about us, but everything we're trying to do here. Emma held his hand tightly, as if fearing he might disappear at any moment. So, what are you going to do, Jack? Jack didn't have an immediate answer, but he knew he needed to find one. He stood up, pulling Emma into a tight embrace. I don't know yet, Emma, but I promise I'll think very carefully about it. In the days that followed, Jack deeply reflected on his situation. He talked to Mike, trying to understand all the implications of the job offer. At the same time, he continued helping Emma with the theater, but the tension between them was palpable. One night, while working late at the theater, Jack found Emma alone, arranging some props. He knew it was time for an honest conversation. Emma, we need to talk, he said, approaching her. Emma stopped what she was doing and looked at him, her gaze tired but determined. What have you decided, Jack? She asked bluntly. Jack took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. Emma, I'm afraid of failing again. I'm afraid all this effort will be in vain and that I'll end up disappointing you and myself. Emma approached him, gently placing a hand on his face. Jack, we all fear failure. But what matters is what we do with that fear. You need to follow your heart, not your doubts. Jack felt a wave of relief hearing those words. He knew Emma was right, that he needed to trust himself and what they were building together. I want to stay, Emma. I want to fight for this theater, for this community, and for us, he said with renewed conviction. Emma smiled, a smile that lit up the empty theater. Then let's do it together, Jack. Let's face these challenges and show everyone that we can make a difference. With this decision, Jack and Emma joined forces and dedicated themselves even more to the theater project. Although challenges continued to arise, the determination and love they shared became the solid foundation upon which they built their future. As spring blossomed, so did hope in Jack and Emma's hearts. And together, they were ready to face any obstacle that came their way, confident that the power of love and true connection could overcome any adversity. Jack reunited with an old friend, Mike, who offered him a job opportunity outside New York. The proposal was tempting, as it would solve many of his financial problems. Jack was torn between pursuing this new opportunity or continuing to help Emma and the theater project. Jack was sitting in a cafe near Central Park, reflecting on the past few months of his life. Emma's unexpected arrival had transformed his world, filling it with new purpose and hope. However, he still carried financial worries and uncertainty about the future. It was then that he received a message from an old friend, Mike, inviting him to meet up. Curious and in need of a distraction, Jack accepted. They arranged to meet at the bar where he and Mike used to hang out during college. Upon entering, he saw Mike waving from a table in the corner. The two friends hugged warmly, exchanging smiles and memories of old times. Jack, my man, it's been ages, Mike exclaimed as they sat down. You look the same, but it seems like something's changed. What's going on? Jack sighed, taking a sip of his beer. Oh, Mike, life in New York has been a roller coaster. I met an amazing person, Emma, and I'm involved in a theater revitalization project in her neighborhood. But honestly, things aren't easy financially. I'm seriously thinking about going back to my hometown. Mike listened attentively, nodding. I get it. Actually, I have something that might interest you. I'm managing a new development project in a nearby city. It's a big venture, and we need someone with your skills. The pay is excellent, and there are plenty of growth opportunities. Jack was surprised by the offer. It was exactly the kind of solution he needed for his financial problems. That sounds incredible, Mike. Really incredible. But I don't know. This theater project means a lot to me and Emma. She's become an essential part of my life. Mike smiled understandingly. I get it, Jack, but think about the future. This job could solve many of your problems and give you the stability you don't have right now. Jack thanked Mike for the offer and promised to think about it. In the following days, he found himself torn between the tempting job opportunity and his commitment to Emma and the theater. His nights were long, filled with insomnia and conflicting thoughts. One evening, after another work session at the theater, Jack and Emma were sitting on the steps of the entrance, looking at the stars. Jack was restless, unable to hide his worry. "Jack, you're acting strange today. What's going on?" Emma asked, gently placing her hand on his shoulder. Jack took a deep breath, deciding it was time to come clean. "Emma, I ran into an old friend, Mike. He offered me a job opportunity outside New York. It's an amazing chance. It would solve many of my financial problems. But it would mean leaving you and the theater." Emma was silent for a moment, digesting the information. I didn't know you were thinking about leaving, Jack. This surprises me." "I know, Emma, and I feel awful about it. I really want to stay here, help with the theater, be with you. But I can't ignore this opportunity. I'm torn between following my heart and being financially responsible." Emma looked at him with sadness in her eyes. "I understand, Jack, truly, but I need to know, what do you really want? Not just for me, but for yourself." Jack didn't know how to answer. He felt divided, as if being pulled in two opposite directions. "I don't know, Emma. I'm so confused. I need more time to think." In the days that followed, Jack talked to various people in the neighborhood and his old friends, seeking advice and trying to find an answer. He visited the theater multiple times, observing the improvements and thinking about all the work that still needed to be done. Every corner of the theater seemed to tell a story, every seat a memory of the dreams he and Emma had shared. One afternoon, Jack went to Mike's house to discuss more details about the job offer. Sitting in Mike's modern and cozy apartment, he listened carefully as his friend explained the benefits and challenges of the new job. "Jack, this is an opportunity that doesn't come around twice. I really believe you would be a great asset to the project. Think about the possibilities, the doors that will open for you," Mike said enthusiastically. Jack nodded, but his heart was still heavy. "I know, Mike. It's an incredible offer, but I can't just ignore what I'm building here with Emma and the theater. They are an important part of me now." Mike looked at Jack seriously. "I understand, Jack, but sometimes we need to make tough decisions to ensure a better future. Only you can decide what's most important to you." Jack thanked Mike and returned home with his mind even more conflicted. That night, he found Emma at the theater, working alone. She was painting a mural on the wall, a vibrant scene that captured the essence of the community. "Emma, we need to talk," Jack said, his voice filled with determination. Emma stopped what she was doing and turned to him, wiping her hands on her pants. "Sure, Jack. What is it?" Jack approached, looking deeply into her eyes. "I need to resolve this now. I can't keep dragging this doubt. I need to know what really matters to me." Emma nodded, her gaze full of understanding. "I'm here to listen, Jack. What have you decided?" Jack took a deep breath, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders as he spoke. "Mike offered me an amazing opportunity, and I'm tempted to take it. But at the same time, I can't ignore what we're building here. I love this theater, I love this community, and I love you." Emma smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "Jack, I love you too, but you need to do what's best for you. If this job is what you need, I will understand." Jack shook his head, his voice firm. "I can't leave all this behind, Emma. You and the theater have given me a new purpose. I want to stay here, face the challenges together, and build something that really matters." Emma ran to him, hugging him tightly. "I'm so happy you decided to stay, Jack. We will overcome this together, I promise." With the decision made, Jack felt a renewed energy and determination. He knew the journey ahead would be difficult, but he was ready to face any obstacle alongside Emma. Together, they continued to fight for the revitalization of the theater and the construction of a future full of love and hope. Emma discovered that Jack's job opportunity was in his hometown and that he was seriously considering the offer. She felt betrayed and decided to distance herself. Jack, in turn, felt guilty and confused, unsure whether to follow his heart or his career. Emma was in the theater, organizing project documents, when she overheard a conversation between Jack and Mike. Jack's excited tone as he discussed the possibility of returning to his hometown for the job offer made her heart sink. She felt betrayed and, above all, abandoned. The person she thought was different, who she believed truly cared about her and the project, now seemed ready to leave, like so many others she had known. While Jack and Mike continued their conversation, Emma quietly slipped out of the theater, unnoticed. The night was cold, and she wandered the streets of New York aimlessly, trying to process all the emotions overwhelming her. The pain of potential loss, the fear of being alone again, and the feeling that she might once again have to face everything on her own. The next day, Jack noticed the change in Emma's behavior. She was distant, avoided eye contact, and her responses were monosyllabic. He knew something was wrong, but didn't know exactly what. He decided to confront her. "Emma, can we talk?" he said, trying to sound calm. She looked at him, her eyes revealing a mix of sadness and anger. "About what?" she replied curtly. "About what's going on. You're different, and I want to understand why." Emma sighed deeply, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to fall. "I heard you talking to Mike about the job offer in your hometown. So that's it? You're leaving?" Jack was momentarily speechless. He hadn't expected her to know about the offer so soon. "Emma, I don't know yet. I'm considering it. It's an important opportunity for me." "An important opportunity?" she repeated, bitterness in her voice. "And what about what we're doing here? All this effort with the theater, our connection. Isn't that important to you?" Jack felt an overwhelming weight of guilt. "Emma, of course it's important. You are important to me. But this offer would solve many of my financial problems. I'm just trying to be practical." Emma shook her head, disappointed. "Practical? Jack, I thought you had found something more here. Something beyond money and practicality." "I did," Jack exclaimed, desperate for her to understand. "But I'm also scared. Scared of failing again, of not being able to sustain my dreams." "You're scared," she said, now in a softer, yet still pained voice. "And what about me? I'm scared too, Jack. Scared of being abandoned, of investing my heart in someone who might just leave when the first opportunity arises." There was a long silence between them. Jack wanted to hug her, to say everything would be all right. But he knew empty words wouldn't suffice. Emma turned and started walking away, leaving Jack alone with his thoughts. In the following days, Emma kept her distance, immersing herself in theater work, trying not to think about Jack. She found solace in memories of her family, remembering how the theater was a living connection to them. Every hammer strike, every brushstroke of paint, was a way to keep their memory alive. Jack, on the other hand, was in an emotional turmoil. He knew he needed to make a decision but was paralyzed by fear and guilt. He talked to Mike several times, trying to find a solution, but nothing seemed right. In one of these conversations, Mike noticed Jack's inner conflict. "Jack, I think you need to be honest with yourself. What do you really want?" Mike asked. Jack sighed, exasperated. "I don't know, Mike. It feels like I'm torn between two parts of myself. One part wants this financial stability, but the other is deeply connected to Emma and what we're building here." Mike looked at him with understanding. "Sometimes, the hardest choice is also the right one. You need to decide what is most valuable to you." Mike's words kept echoing in Jack's mind. He knew that no matter his decision, someone would get hurt. The idea of hurting Emma tormented him, but he also couldn't ignore the chance to solve his financial problems and restart his life in his hometown. Meanwhile, Emma found refuge in the theater, working tirelessly. Every time she thought of Jack, she felt a pang of pain, but also a renewed determination to move forward, no matter what. She knew she couldn't rely on anyone for her happiness and needed to be strong for herself and her family's legacy. One night, while Emma was alone in the theater, Jack appeared. He looked tired and worried, but determined. "Emma, can we talk?" he asked, his voice almost pleading. Emma stopped what she was doing and looked at him. "Jack, if you came here to say you're leaving, please just say it." Jack approached, his eyes meeting hers. "Emma, I don't know what to do. I'm torn between taking this job and staying here with you. I'm scared of making the wrong decision." Emma sighed, trying to stay calm. "Jack, life is full of hard decisions. But you need to choose what really matters to you. I can't make that decision for you. I know, Jack replied, his voice breaking. I just wanted you to know that, no matter what I decide, you mean a lot to me. You've made me rediscover parts of myself I thought were lost. Emma felt her heart tighten, but tried to stay strong. Jack, I love you too, but you need to figure out what's best for you. And whatever your decision, I will respect it. Jack nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. He knew that, whatever his choice, there would be consequences, but he was determined to face his responsibilities and follow his heart, no matter what the future held. Jack walked hesitantly through the streets of New York, the weight of indecision pressing heavily on his chest. The air was cold, almost biting, and he huddled deeper into his coat as he made his way towards the theater. Confronting Emma seemed like the only solution to the storm of emotions tormenting him. As he approached the theater, he saw the lights on inside, a beacon of hope in the darkness of the night. Entering the theater, Jack heard the echo of his footsteps reverberate off the empty walls. There was Emma, alone on the stage, organizing props and adjusting the lights. She seemed lost in thought, focused on the work she loved so much. When Jack approached, she looked up, their eyes meeting in a silence heavy with unresolved tension. Emma, we need to talk, Jack said, his voice faltering slightly. He was nervous but determined to resolve things. Emma sighed, setting aside a prop. I know, she replied calmly, though her eyes held a certain sadness. I think we need to clear some things up. Jack swallowed hard, feeling the gravity of the moment. I'm confused, Emma. The job offer is tempting. It would solve a lot of my problems. But I don't want to leave you and everything we've started here. Emma nodded, crossing her arms as if trying to shield herself from the words that were about to come. I understand, Jack. But you need to know that I can't continue this if you're not fully committed. I've lost a lot in life, and I can't afford to lose more. Jack took a step closer, trying to bridge the gap between them. I'm scared, Emma. Scared of failing again, of not being good enough. Sometimes it feels easier to run away than to face it all. Emma uncrossed her arms and took a step towards Jack, her eyes locked onto his. Jack, we all have fears. I have my own demons too. But running away never solves anything. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. Jack felt a knot unravel in his chest. I don't want to disappoint you. Since I met you, you've been a light in my life, something I didn't know I needed. But what if I fail? Emma placed her hand on Jack's shoulder, a gesture of comfort and support. You won't fail, Jack. And even if you face obstacles, we'll be together. The important thing is that you follow your heart. If your heart tells you to stay and fight for this, then that's what you should do. Jack looked at Emma, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, feeling the strength of her words. He knew she was right. Running away wasn't the answer. Taking a deep breath, he made his decision. Emma, I want to stay. I want to fight for the theater, for us. I want to see where this can lead, without fear of what might go wrong. I want to be here, by your side. A genuine, relieved smile spread across Emma's face. Then let's do this together, Jack. Let's turn this theater into something wonderful and build something beautiful for ourselves. Jack felt a wave of relief and determination. He knew the road wouldn't be easy, but with Emma by his side, he was ready to face any challenge. They embraced, sealing that moment of decision with a gesture of love and commitment. From that day on, Jack and Emma dedicated themselves even more to the theater project. They faced resistance, difficulties, and moments of doubt, but always found strength in each other. The theater began to take shape, coming to life not only through their physical efforts, but also through the passion and love they invested in the project. Jack found a new joy in music, rehearsing for the theater's grand opening. Emma, in turn, felt she was finally honoring her family's memory, transforming the theater into a symbol of hope and renewal for the community. One day, while they were working together, Jack looked at Emma and said, You know, Emma, if it weren't for that night in Central Park, I'd be back in my hometown, probably unhappy and full of regrets. But you showed me a new perspective, a new path. Emma smiled, gently touching Jack's hand. And you helped me remember that even in the darkest moments, there's always a chance to start over and find happiness. Their connection grew even stronger, and together, they overcame the obstacles that came their way. The theater, finally ready, shone with new life, a testament to what love, hope, and determination can achieve. On the day of the grand opening, Jack and Emma stood side by side, ready to share that special moment with everyone who had supported them. They knew it was only the beginning of a journey full of possibilities and that, together, they could face anything. And so, on a cold night in New York, two hearts found each other and decided to move forward together, turning dreams into reality and finding true happiness in each other. After much reflection and an intense and emotional conversation with Emma, Jack firmly decided to stay in New York. He realized that his heart was not only in the theater project but also in his relationship with Emma. The decision was not easy, but he felt it was the right path to follow. United by a new determination, Jack and Emma faced the remaining resistance against the theater's revitalization together. The first step in the process involved a series of meetings with neighborhood residents and local authorities. Jack and Emma organized a community meeting at the parish hall, a place symbolizing the neighborhood's spirit of unity. The hall was packed with residents of all ages who came to listen and express their concerns. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming," Emma began, holding the microphone firmly. "We're here to talk about the future of our theater, a place that has brought so much joy and culture to our community." An elderly man raised his hand. "Sorry, but how do you plan to finance all this? We've seen so many projects start and never finish." Jack took the floor, feeling the tension in the room. "I understand your concerns. We're seeking funding through donations, charity events, and partnerships with local businesses. Additionally, we're counting on the help of community volunteers." A young woman with a baby in her arms spoke next. "I think the theater is a great idea. My grandparents used to tell me wonderful stories about the plays they watched there. It would be a great place to take my children." The young woman's words left the room silent for a moment, and Jack realized that despite the doubts, there was a latent desire to see the theater reborn. He continued, "We want the theater to be a space for everyone, where we can share our stories and cultures. We need each of your support to make this happen." Over time, resistance diminished, and the community began to unite around the project. Jack and Emma organized a series of charity events, including a bazaar, a music festival, and a bingo night, each attracting more people and raising essential funds for the work. Jack got personally involved in every detail, from ticket sales to stage setup, rediscovering his passion for music and theater with every step. One evening, while Emma reviewed construction plans in the theater, Jack approached her, holding 2 cups of hot coffee. "Here, you deserve a break," he said, handing her one of the cups. "Thanks, Jack," Emma replied, accepting the coffee with a smile. "I don't know what I would do without you." "Neither do I," Jack admitted, looking into her eyes. "This place, this project, made me realize how lost I was and how much you helped me find myself again." Emma moved closer, lightly touching Jack's face. "We're doing this together, Jack, and that's what matters." The months passed, and the theater began to take shape. The walls were painted, the seats installed, and the stage assembled. Jack and Emma worked tirelessly, often late into the night. But the vision of the theater coming to life filled them with renewed energy. Finally, the grand reopening day arrived. The theater was full of life, with residents eager to see the result of so many months of hard work. Jack, nervous and excited, was backstage checking the last details. Emma approached, dressed in an elegant blue dress, her eyes shining with anticipation. "Are you ready?" she asked, holding his hand. "More than ever," Jack replied, squeezing her hand firmly. The curtain opened, and the audience erupted in applause. The show was a success, a celebration of the community and perseverance. In a moment of pure joy, Jack took the guitar and sang a song he wrote especially for the occasion, a tribute to Emma and everyone who believed in the project. After the show, as the applause still echoed through the theater, Jack and Emma stood on stage, side by side. "We did it," Emma said, tears of happiness in her eyes. "Yes, we did," Jack responded, pulling her into a tight hug. The theater's reopening symbolized not just the revitalization of a building, but also the renewal of hopes and dreams. The community felt more united and strengthened, and Jack and Emma were more connected than ever. Together, they proved that with love, determination, and mutual support, it was possible to overcome any obstacle. That night, as they walked home, Jack stopped and looked at Emma with a serious expression. "Emma, I know we still have a lot to face, but I want you to know that I'm here for you, always." Emma smiled, squeezing his hand. "And I'm here for you, Jack, always." And so, under the twinkling city lights, Jack and Emma walked together, ready to face the future hand in hand, certain that together they could conquer anything. On the night of the long-awaited theater opening, the atmosphere was electrifying. There was a palpable sense of anticipation in the air as neighborhood residents and friends of Jack and Emma gathered to witness the rebirth of a space long abandoned. The theater lights shone brightly, reflecting the hope and effort both had dedicated to the project. Jack was backstage, adjusting the final technical details for the performance. Emma, on the other hand, was at the entrance, greeting guests with her welcoming smile. "Welcome. I hope you enjoy the night," she said, her voice tinged with slight anxiety but also a joy that lit up her face. As the night progressed, an unexpected figure appeared at the theater's entrance. A tall man with a serious expression and eyes that seemed to carry years of stories stopped at the door. When Emma saw him, she froze. Her heart raced, and she felt a whirlwind of emotions she couldn't immediately process. "Emma," the man said, his voice trembling. "It's me, David." Emma blinked several times, trying to understand if it was a dream or reality. "David? But how? I thought you were dead," she stammered, tears starting to stream down her face. David took a step toward her, opening his arms. "I survived, Emma. I was imprisoned in another country, but I finally made it back. I'm so sorry for all the pain I caused." Emma couldn't hold back her tears. She ran into David's arms, sobbing with relief and joy. "I can't believe it. I searched for you so much. I thought I'd never see you again." As the siblings embraced, Jack appeared, drawn by the commotion at the entrance. He stood still, observing the scene with a mix of surprise and curiosity. Emma, still holding on to David, looked at Jack and gestured for him to come closer. "Jack, this is my brother, David. He's alive," Emma said, her voice choked with emotion. Jack, still processing the situation, approached and extended his hand to David. "It's a pleasure to meet you, David. I'm glad you and Emma are together again." David shook Jack's hand firmly. "Thank you for taking care of my sister. She told me a lot about you." The three stood there for a moment, enveloped in a bubble of happiness and relief. The unexpected reunion of Emma and David brought a new perspective for everyone. His presence not only healed an old wound in Emma's heart, but also strengthened her relationship with Jack. "Let's go inside. The performance is about to start," Emma said, wiping her tears and trying to compose herself. Inside the theater, the performance was an absolute success. The audience gave a standing ovation, moved by the beauty and dedication evident in every detail. Jack stepped onto the stage, took the microphone, and with a smile, thanked everyone. "This theater is a symbol of new beginnings, not just for Emma and me, but for the entire community. Thank you for believing in us," he said, his voice firm and emotional. After the performance, Jack, Emma, and David gathered in the dressing room. The energy between them was palpable, as if David's presence had brought a new light to everyone. "David, you have to tell us everything," Emma said, her eyes shining with curiosity and emotion. David sighed, sitting in a nearby chair. "It's been a long journey. After the accident, I was taken to a hospital in a neighboring country. I was unconscious for weeks. When I woke up, I was in custody, accused of espionage. It was a nightmare. But with the help of an NGO, I was able to prove my innocence and finally returned home." Jack and Emma listened attentively to every word, feeling the depth of David's suffering and resilience. "You're a true survivor, David," Jack said with admiration. Emma held her brother's hand, smiling. "And now we're together again. That's all that matters." In the weeks that followed, David's presence brought a new dynamic to the group. He became actively involved in the theater project, bringing new ideas and helping to strengthen the community. Jack and Emma, with their love and dedication renewed, continued working together, transforming the theater into a true cultural center. One night, while they were in the theater, Jack led Emma to the empty stage. The soft lights created a magical atmosphere. He held her hands and looked deeply into her eyes. "Emma, since I met you, my life has completely changed. You taught me about love, hope, and resilience. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Jack asked, taking a small velvet box from his pocket and revealing a ring. Emma, with tears in her eyes, smiled radiantly. "Yes, Jack, I will." They kissed, sealing their commitment to a life together. David, watching from afar, smiled with satisfaction, happy to see his sister finally finding the happiness she so deserved. The theater's opening was not just a milestone for the community, but also a symbol of new beginnings for Jack and Emma. Together, they learned to value each moment, overcome challenges, and find true happiness amid adversity. And so, with the theater flourishing and their lives intertwined in an inseparable bond, Jack and Emma discovered that sometimes the most unexpected new beginnings bring the greatest joys and true happiness.